What's up, everybody? Natalie here with the one and only Catherine Klein. So excited to be here in Denver, and as you may know, we're both pretty involved with the Pro Animal Future campaigns. Catherine's been involved a lot longer than I have, probably for over a year at this point, and I just joined the team a few months ago, and I'm really excited about it. And in this video, we are responding to a Reddit post that was on the Denver subreddit about our campaign, and we're going to be going through some of the misinformation, some of the stupid comments, and responding to it. So let's get into it.
Awesome.
Slaughterhouse ban on Denver ballot targets one 70-year business. The Colorado Livestock Association is pushing back on a Denver ballot measure seeking to ban slaughterhouses within city limits, saying it targets a single business that employs more than 150 people who have worked in the industry for decades. If this measure passes, the largest lamb packing plant in the U.S. would have to close by January 1st, 2026. Employee-owned Superior Farm Slaughterhouse near the National Western Stock Show, boo, complex processes about 300,000 animals a year, sending millions of pounds of packaged meat across the U.S. and generating an estimated $861 million in current economic activity for Colorado's second largest industry, according to a Colorado State University report. Should we respond as we go through, or should I read it all?
No, you should probably read it all.
Okay. It is Dixon, California-based Superior's largest facility. Only it and Colorado Lamb Processors, a family-owned processing plant in Brush, are capable of packing more than 100,000 sheep per year in Colorado. Colorado currently has the third largest sheep and lamb inventory in the U.S. and ranks second in the nation behind California for slaughter-ready lambs. Total capacity of Colorado's 21 USDA-inspected facilities is 400,000 sheep per year. Superior's facility in Denver accounts for 15% to 20% of lamb processing capacity in the U.S. The group behind the ballot measure, Pro Animal Future, says slaughterhouses are inhumane to workers, animals, and the surrounding communities they pollute, and that the proposed ordinance would promote community awareness of animal welfare, bolster the city's stance against animal cruelty, and, in turn, foster a more humane environment in Denver.
Facts.
Okay, let's start at the top.
Yeah,
want to correct some stuff. They're saying that we're targeting a single business in Denver. That's not what's happening. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, so we're in a unique state where we can do direct legislation via ballot initiatives. And it would obviously, we have to start somewhere. And so for the city of Denver, it does have to be within city limits. So the reason this one business is being targeted is because they happen to be the only slaughterhouse operating within city limits. And we have to start somewhere. So we are not actually targeting, we didn't create this campaign to specifically target Superior Farms. They just, like I said, happen to be the one slaughterhouse that is still in operation.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't wake up one day let's go after Superior Farms. Mm-hmm. It was an idea that we want to run ballot initiatives for pro-animal legislation. There's this slaughterhouse in Denver. We want to ban slaughter in various cities, and Denver is the first one, but it's not going to be the last one. Mm-hmm. This is our pilot campaign. So it definitely doesn't target the single business. And then it says that they employ 150 people who have worked in the industry for decades. That's just completely inaccurate. Mm-hmm. They have, first of all, 160 employees, not 150. And most of those employees have not worked there very long. Slaughterhouses, on average, have an 80 to 100% turnover rate. So the chances that all of them have been there for decades, that's absolutely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And we interviewed someone who used to work there. He said it was terrible and that the turnover rate is extremely high. And as far as the employee-owned stuff, most people don't last long enough to get those benefits.
So they're just trying to frame it as they're trying to appeal to progressive voters because Denver is mostly progressive voter base. So they're trying to flip it around and make it seem like we're the ones that are hurting this employee-owned, pro-union business, small family farm, local bullshit.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous, and they're not a small local company. They're a $1 billion corporation. I would be very
$1 billion
surprised if they.
corporation?
So they make $250 million per year.
Wow.
So they are probably valued at $1 billion, if not more. One last thing I want to say about this is I just really dislike the way they're talking about lambs here. Slaughter-ready lambs. These lambs are not ready to be slaughtered. They're 6 months old. They could live for 10 to 15 years. Who says they're slaughter-ready? They didn't. We should take their choice into account as well. This comment pisses me off so much.
Oh my god, okay. Yes, it has 295 upvotes. I've been a vegetarian for over 20 years now, but I don't see how this solves anything. We just need to make conditions on farms, feedlots, slaughterhouses as humane as possible for the animals and safe as possible for the workers, not just move them elsewhere. I have so many issues with this.
Go for it.
First of all, do we need more proof that vegetarians are carnists?
I was hoping that would be your first point.
But the thing that irritates me the most is the NIMBY sentiment that we are just trying to move them elsewhere. When if you look at our website, that's not the goal of our campaign. We clearly state that we want to ban slaughter, but obviously we have to start somewhere. Yeah. So it's not a not in my backyard initiative, it's a pro-animal initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as the slaughterhouse moving, that's very unlikely. It's incredibly expensive to build slaughterhouses and hard to put them in new communities because most communities don't want them. So the chances of it just being moved elsewhere are very unlikely. This is what people do when they don't like the actual solution to problems that's being proposed. They create this fake plan that sounds nice and say, let's do that instead. When we ask people to go vegan, we're told, oh, no, that's the wrong approach. Don't do that. And then when we try to change legislation, after people tell us all the time we need to change the system, then when we're trying to change the system, they say, oh, no, that's the wrong approach. In reality, they just don't agree with the idea that animals are not objects who we shouldn't be killing and selling for profit. That's the core of the issue.
Right.
And these ballot initiatives are a great way to get people to talk about this issue and to think about it and engage with it because most people ignore it on a daily basis.
Right.
But they're not going to ignore us this November. Someone brought this initiative up to me a few months ago, and all I could say was, why? And they brought up it's a win for animal cruelty. And I was like, we're just moving the cruelty elsewhere. And what about jobs? Not to mention Superior Farms is employee-owned. Just sounded like a hollow moral victory for misguided idealists and a waste of time/money. It does smell like shit, though.
What's funny to me is most of your audience doesn't live in Denver. So I've been in Denver for several years, and this particular community it's like a neighborhood of Denver called Globeville, and it smells like shit, okay? And everyone complains about it. And depending, I lived, I think, a couple miles south of there, and if the winds are blowing in a certain direction, you just smell all kinds of smells. And there happens to be this massive Purina factory. So it's like a pet food factory. And everyone thinks that the smell is just the Purina plant, which of course it does smell like shit. But it's actually a combination of the Purina factory and Superior Farms slaughterhouse. And that combination is what people are smelling.
Globeville is the most polluted residential zip code in the entire United States.
That's insane.
It's insane. It's because of Purina, it's because of the slaughterhouse, it's because of the interstate system as well.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Oh, I hate this.
This one pissed me off. I'm not a rancher, but I am friends with a few. And believe me, they want it to be as humane as possible too. Stress ruins the meat.
I'm really not persuaded by that argument because what they're saying is that the reasons the ranchers care about the animal cruelty is because it affects the product. So it's reinforcing the idea that they see animals as objects and products.
Yeah.
It doesn't say they want it to be as humane as possible because they care about their animals. It's completely framing it in terms of they get what they need from the animal. So that's why I find it so unpersuasive. There's also studies that stress may affect the quality of meat in some animals, but it doesn't in other animals. Animals are stressed when they go to slaughterhouses.
Yeah,
they fight for their lives. They try to run away. That meat is still sold.
Yeah.
There is no way to slaughter an animal without stressing great majority of them out. Maybe there's
Right.
some animals that don't get stressed, but probably not. So that's just ridiculous. The other thing about ranchers is that they're not the ones who are slaughtering animals. They're not the ones going to slaughterhouses. They sell their animals to a slaughterhouse. The truck comes and picks them up and drives them away. That's all the interaction they have with slaughterhouses. So they're very not involved in that process at all. I'm sure they want to believe that it's humane just as much as other people do, because if they didn't, they would feel worse about what they're doing to animals. What people don't realize is the animal cruelty involved in factory farming mostly occurs in the living conditions of the farm and is mostly prevalent with smaller animals like pigs and chickens or dairy cattle. Once animals reach the slaughterhouse, the process is relatively quick. If you can afford it and choose to eat meat, try and buy a humanely raised protein. It's not always possible. I used to work in food packaging industry, and I've been inside both of these meat packing plants, including many others around the US and Canada. These jobs used to be highly compensated union jobs, but we all know what happened there. The jobs lost from closing these plants will be mostly Spanish-speaking blue-collar folks trying to make ends meet.
That is all over the place.
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot of animal cruelty on factory farms and in the living conditions that is also extremely common in slaughterhouses. That's where they're literally being killed and electrocuted and cut up into pieces.
And I really don't understand this idea that it's what we do on factory farms is horrible. We abuse these animals, we keep them in cages, we mutilate them without anesthesia. Like, those things are all horrible. But a knife to the throat is somehow fine. Like,
it doesn't make any logical sense. It's the only reason people think that is because that's what we've been raised with. If I asked anyone and they're being honest, would you rather have your finger cut off or have your throat slit and die?
right.
People would choose the former because they don't want to die. They recognize that killing is basically the worst crime you can commit against a human. Murder has the most serious consequences. Why does that not translate to animals? It does to dogs, it does to cats. It's just these certain animals that we've been raised to think it's okay to kill them as long as we treat them well. Why? It doesn't logically make sense. If they deserve the moral consideration to be treated well, they deserve the moral consideration to not be killed.
I think it stems from the idea that it's necessary. Because if it were genuinely necessary, I can understand wanting to make it quick to like minimize suffering. Because if you kill an animal quickly, you are obviously they're not going to suffer as badly as if you draw it out. Like, But the thing is, meat is not necessary at all. So
that's a good
therefore
point.
slaughter is completely unnecessary. And in that context, killing an animal is worse than like keeping them in a cage. Well, I guess, I mean, we could.
It depends. I think
Depends on the duration.
I think we can agree that both are bad.
That's the point. Anyways.
Both are bad.
Well, I did comment, but I was a little too savage in my response.
Oh, yeah.
So.
What did you say, Catherine?
I said, I take it you don't support dog slaughter, in which case you're already a massive hypocrite, so you may as well be inconsistently kind than consistently unkind. 35 downvotes. Shocker. I mean, this is anonymous, so I'm not really that worried about it, but I think that for pro-animal future, like our framing, I would not say that to someone in the context of canvassing for pro-animal future. What would you say, Natalie, to someone bringing up that they're a meat eater, so would it not make them a hypocrite to vote to ban slaughterhouses?
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, that most of the people we talk to eat meat but also care about animals. That's a controversial idea in the vegan community. I don't want to necessarily go into it. This is what I say during canvassing. And I say that I think we should completely move away from using animals as resources, but I recognize that not everyone agrees with that. Most people don't agree with that. Most people just want to ban factory farming and industrialize slaughterhouses. And what's great about this measure is that it's a step in the right direction for both of us, for people who eat meat but care about animals, and for people who think that animals shouldn't be used at all. We can both agree that these industrialized slaughterhouses and factory farms are a huge problem and we should be tackling them immediately. I would also say that it's not hypocritical to vote for better public transit while you drive a car. So it's not hypocritical to vote to ban slaughter if you eat meat. If we want to win this election, we need all the support we can get, and most of those supporters are going to be meat eaters. So the last thing we want to do is alienate them and tell them that they're hypocrites.
Because don't say what I said. But this person made a good point. I mean, it's similar to what you just said. So it isn't hypocritical to eat meat and think we should be transitioning away from using it, just as it's not hypocritical to drive a car and think we should be burning less fossil fuels. So,
yeah, I think that's a really good point.
So yeah, I would not tell someone they're a massive hypocrite to their face.
Just online. Okay, I don't eat meat and these places are awful, but the concept of voting to ban certain types of business makes me uneasy. What's with all these
I hated that comment.
These people simping for the meat industry?
Yeah, this one pissed me off so much because it's like, okay, what a pick me.
Yeah.
But this makes you uneasy? Like, you felt the need to comment that banning certain types of businesses makes you uneasy. That tells me that that makes you more uneasy than slaughtering 1,500 lambs per day, which is just deranged. Like,
where would we be if we had never banned certain businesses, right? We would have so much terrible shit. We would still have slavery. Like, this is a step in the right moral direction. We know so much more about animal sentience. We know so much more about nutrition. We know that we don't need to be doing this to animals and that they suffer immensely because of it. Let's move in the right direction, away from these slaughterhouses. This is another comment that bothers me. It's weird to support freedom for other people. I don't eat broccoli, but I don't want to ban it for people who do. Catherine, is there a difference between broccoli and lambs?
No, they're the same.
The same. Point taken.
I mean, chopping up some broccoli versus chopping a leg off of this little guy over here.
Oh, Mowgli, can
You
we chop
love
off your leg?
broccoli.
Can we chop off your leg? No? You wouldn't like that? Great.
Animals will still get killed. People will still eat meat. Sounds like they just don't want to know about it.
What does that mean?
So they're arguing that the pro-animal future, the people behind this campaign, they just don't want to think about it. They just want to push it elsewhere, and they just don't want to know about it. And it's like, how dumb are you?
The people who don't want to think about it are the ones who have never thought about it, and
exactly.
don't. We have thought deeply about what happens in these places. You know, we've been in these places. We did all this research to find out how to connect with meat eaters to try to get, a better world for animals. And our research led us to this kind of stuff. So
it's just so funny that
people keep repeating this, like, oh, it's NIMBY, it's not gonna make a difference, whatever, which is ridiculous because we want to ban slaughter everywhere, not just in Denver. And this is a way to work up to statewide, probably factory farming bans, because that's a bit more politically savvy.
And obviously with our campaign that we're spending so much time, as someone else said earlier, a waste of time and money. We're spending all of this time working to educate and inform people about what happens in slaughterhouses. Yet we just don't want to know about it. Like, what?
That's infuriating.
Yeah.
This sounds like it would solve literally nothing and would actually end up harming many of our fellow citizens and our local economy. Why would anyone vote yes on this?
Why would anyone vote yes?
I commented, thank you for asking. There are many reasons to vote yes. Number 1, slaughterhouse workers, that's bad. 2, environmental. 3, animal cruelty. I think I gave a pretty solid case.
Hey, 1 up vote. There you go.
1 up vote by me.
Hey, at least my other comment that was just informative and not savage got 9 up votes. So
that's really good. Does that make up for the 35 down votes of the other one?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. This one is pretty ridiculous. Denver isn't banning slaughterhouses just because vegans don't like them. Yeah, it wouldn't be because vegans don't like them. If this passes, it would be because a majority of the population agrees that slaughterhouses are bad. There have been surveys done that found that 47% of Americans would vote to ban slaughter, which is crazy, maybe overestimated, but that's the data that we have now. So a lot of people want to ban slaughterhouses. It's not just vegans. The vegan population is not nearly that high. I can't wait to pay more for food when this passes. Denver voters love to pass just about everything on the ballot. This really won't affect the price of meat except for lamb, which is already a premium product. But if you are concerned about spending a lot on groceries, I recommend a plant-based diet because they come in 30% cheaper. The cheapest foods at the grocery store are naturally plant-based: beans, rice, potatoes, lentils, tofu, tempeh. That is where your money should be going if you are concerned about the price of food.
Good point.
All right, thank you so much for watching today. We really appreciate it. I know this was kind of a deep dive into a lot of the stuff we're working on, but we really want to be transparent about what's happening with the campaign because we do want to run a lot of these in the future, not just in Denver, in other cities, and we want people watching to get involved. And we have a lot of hope for these types of initiatives. Once again, even if we lose, we have still won by costing the meat industry a bunch of money and by getting these conversations going, which is so important.
I should have said this in the last video, but currently all of my Patreon dollars are going towards Pro Animal Future. So if you want to support Pro Animal Future, you don't have to sign up for my Patreon, but you can sign up on the donate to Pro Animal Future link
It'll
below.
be in the description. Yeah, the money you give is going to be used well. We're using it for targeted ads, postcards, guerrilla marketing campaigns, and I promise you that every dollar is being well spent. Also, the meat industry has raised so much money. The more that we have, the better our chances are. And if this passes in Denver, it's going to be huge for the animal rights conversation in the U.S. And we would love for that to happen. So anything you can give to help would be amazing.